Welcome to Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity, a playbook for living healthier and longer. I'm Josie. Along with being a certified personal trainer and longevity enthusiast, I am also a data and AI executive with 4 master's degrees, including one in AI from Johns Hopkins. In each episode, I'll share simple technology and AI-backed strategies with practical steps that you can use to build your own longevity roadmap. I'm not a doctor or medical professional, so be sure to check with your physician before trying anything we discuss on the show. Welcome back, everyone. If you tuned into part 1 of this series, you'll remember we talked about AI as a research partner, how it can cut through hype, scan studies, and help us ask sharper questions about longevity. That episode was all about building a foundation of evidence. But today we're going to make it personal. This is part 2, how to build your own AI-powered longevity agent. Not just a chatbot that spits out generic advice, but a system that knows your data, learns your rhythms, and help you track whether or not what you're doing is actually working. Think of it like moving from reading a cookbook to running your own kitchen. The recipes, the protocols, the supplements, and the training schedules are out there for everyone. But your AI agent is a sous chef who knows your pantry, your taste, and your goals. Together, you can adjust the heat, swap out ingredients, and make the recipe truly yours. Now, here's why this matters. Longevity isn't a single big swing. It's a game of small compounding changes. You don't notice overnight shifts. Your HRV doesn't double after 1 week of meditation, and your ApoB doesn't plummet because of a single fish oil capsule. Most of the meaningful changes are subtle, buried in trends, masked by noise, or delayed by months. Without a system, you're left with the "I think I feel better" vibe. And vibes, as we'll see, are useful, but not purely reliable. That's where AI becomes your secret weapon. It's not magic, and it won't make decisions for you, but it will help you connect the dots. The interventions you try, the biomarkers and wearables you measure, and the subjective notes you jot down, and it will turn all of that into a feedback loop you can actually use. So in this episode, I'm going to answer 3 big questions. First, what data do you actually need to collect? Because, spoiler alert, it's less than you think. You don't need a dozen wearables and weekly labs to start. You just need 1 or 2 signals tracked consistently. Second, how do you make your data AI ready? Here's the thing. AI can usually tell that apolipoprotein B and ApoB are the same marker, or that sleep measured in minutes is the same as hours. But you might not always notice these differences when you're comparing reports. That's why standardization is key. Clear dates, consistent names, and units spelled out. It keeps your analysis clean and makes the loop easier for both you and your AI agent. And third, how do you make your AI agent persistent? Meaning, how do you move from a one-off chat where you upload a file and get some charts to a system that builds on itself over time with a running log of your personal longevity journey? Those are the pillars that we'll unpack step by step. And by the end, you'll have a playbook for building your own AI agent. One that takes you from, "I think this is helping," to "I can see the signal in my own numbers." So if you ever wondered whether that new supplement is doing anything, whether your late night workouts are tanking your sleep, or whether those expensive devices are giving you more than just cool graphs, this episode is for you. Because the real future of longevity isn't just in the next blockbuster drug or biotech breakthrough. It's in giving each of us the tools to test, refine, and optimize our own biology. And with AI, when used wisely, this is how we finally bridge that gap. So let's ground ourselves. What do I mean by building a personal AI agent for longevity? In part 1, we talked about AI models like GPT, Claude, and Gemini as research assistants. They're great at scanning studies, summarizing evidence, and helping us sort signal from noise. But here's the limitation. They don't know you. They don't know your HRV responses to a week of travel, or how your ApoB shifts when you change your diet, or how your focus levels fluctuate after different training loads. That's the leap we're making in part 2, from general science to your science. Here's the mental model that I use. Inputs are the things that you do, your supplements, your workouts, your sleep routines, and protocols. Outputs are the signals you measure, lab markers, wearable metrics, and subjective ratings like energy or mood. The loop is what AI manages, linking inputs to outputs, filtering out noise, and surfacing whether changes are meaningful or just coincidence. Why does this matter? Because longevity is subtle. A new supplement won't knock 20 years off your biological age in a month, but it might nudge your inflammation markers down, add a few minutes of deep sleep, or stabilize recovery trends. Tiny shifts, invisible day to day, become obvious only when you zoom out over weeks and months. That's where an AI agent steps in. It keeps track of the details so you don't have to. It helps you move past, "I think I feel better," into a structured feedback loop where intuition meets evidence. This isn't about building a dashboard for its own sake. It's about giving yourself the clarity to know what's working for your body and the confidence to keep refining your protocol over time. Now, how do we turn vibes into data using AI? Here's an observation. Most of us run our health experiments based on vibes. You try a new supplement, you change your workout timing, maybe you add a cold plunge, and when someone asks how it's going, you say, "I think I feel better." Vibes matter because your body's perception is real data, but vibes are notoriously unreliable. They're shaped by how much sleep you got last night, how stressful your week was, or even whether or not the sun finally came out after 3 cloudy days. This is where AI shines. It helps us translate those fleeting impressions into structured patterns. Instead of stopping at "I think," you can start saying, "Here's the data to back it up." Step 1 is to capture your subjective inputs. The easiest place to start is with your own observations. Every morning, I rate myself on a 1 to 10 scale. Energy, mood, focus, soreness, and sometimes even skin quality. It takes me 2 minutes, coffee in hand, done. Why start here? Because subjective data, when logged consistently, often reveals pattern no wearable ever will. Maybe you always feel mentally foggy the day after a heavy dinner, or maybe your Sunday mood consistently drops when you train too late on Saturday. Without a log, those shifts vanish into memory. With the log, AI can help line up your numbers and say, "Hey, did you notice this?" And here's the science to back it up. Subjective logs are widely used in clinical research. Patient-reported outcomes, like fatigue scores in cancer trials or mood ratings in depression studies, are considered valid endpoints because they capture what biomarkers sometimes miss. Your personal 1 to 10 scale might not sound rigorous, but it's actually built on the same principle. Step 2 is layering in your wearables and labs. Now you can start stacking signals. Say you've been testing red light therapy. Subjectively, you feel calmer. Great. But does the data agree? With AI, you can overlay those vibes with objective metrics, HRV trends from Whoop, recovery scores from 8 Sleep, deep sleep percentages from Aura, and maybe CRP from your last round of blood work. AI won't claim causation, and that's good. What it does is highlight patterns. If calmer vibes, higher HRV, and lower inflammation all line up, that's worth noting. And if they don't, that's just as valuable. AI keeps you honest, so you don't convince yourself that a shiny new gadget is working when the numbers say otherwise. A 2022 meta-analysis in Frontiers in Physiology showed how combining subjective fatigue scores with HRV created more reliable predictions of overtraining than either metric alone. That's exactly what you're building, a small, personal version of an evidence-based monitoring system. Step 3 is housing it in a persistent AI agent. This is where the magic happens. You've got your loop in place, you're logging experiments, and you're layering in signals. Now it's time to give all of that a home. A persistent agent that remembers your history, builds continuity, and grows with your data. A quick note on the word agent. When I say AI agent here, I don't mean a fully autonomous system running your life in the background yet. What we're really building here is a persistent assistant, a system you can configure once with instructions and files so that it remembers your context and acts like a personal research partner. Think of it less like a self-driving car and more like a co-pilot. You're still in the driver's seat, but the AI helps you track patterns, flag anomalies, and keep your data organized. When you're setting up your agent, you're working with 2 layers. First is the setup instructions. This is the agent's job description, saved once inside ChatGPT within custom GPT or Claude within project instructions. This defines how your AI should behave every time you use it. The precision prompts are like the agent's to-do list. These are the questions you ask each month or each week, like compare my August HRV to my baseline. This step is all about setting up the instructions and files so that the agent knows its role. Next step is where you'll learn how to give it precise tasks. Think of it like creating a kitchen for your sous chef AI. The instructions are the recipes pinned to the fridge, and the prompts are what you ask your sous chef to cook tonight. The first option is building a custom GPT, which unfortunately is unavailable in the free version of ChatGPT. In the ChatGPT app or browser sidebar, click Explore GPTs and then click on Create a GPT. After you do so, you'll see two tabs. This part can feel confusing at first, so here's the breakdown. Your Create tab is essentially your elevator pitch, where you can write quick, plain English description of what you want. For example, something like, I want a longevity agent that helps me analyze my sleep, labs, and supplements over time. Think of this like giving your AI a job title. Think of the Configure tab as the job description. This is where the real setup happens. You'll paste your detailed instructions here, set behavior rules, and upload files. An example of the instruction could be something like this. You are my personal longevity agent. Your role is to help me analyze health and wellness data, including subjective logs, wearable metrics, and lab results. Always look for patterns, flag anomalies, and highlight possible correlations or confounders. Keep your analysis structured, clear, and skeptical. Never give medical prescriptions, but suggest what kind of patterns or follow-up questions I should explore. Think of this section like giving your AI the full job description. A quick tip is not overthinking the Create tab. Just give it one clear sentence, then focus on getting your Configure instructions right. In the Knowledge section of the Configure tab, upload your baseline logs and files. Something like a CSV of your HRV and sleep data, your last recent blood panel results, and a note stock with your current protocols, including supplements and routines. Option B is creating a project in Anthropic's Claude, which is available in the free version. The instructions are very similar to the version for ChatGPT, so I'll keep this pretty short. In Claude's dashboard, go to Projects and select New Project. You want to upload your baseline data in the Knowledge section, and in the project instructions, create the same prompt that you did for ChatGPT. Now let's talk about a choice you'll eventually face. Do you build one single longevity agent, or do you split things out into multiple specialized ones? Here's my advice. Start with one. One generic longevity agent is the simplest and strongest way to begin. It handles everything in one place: your sleep data, your lab panels, your supplements, even your mood logs. That means all of your experiments live together, your history is continuous, and you're not juggling 3 different systems just to answer a question. Later on, if you want to get fancy, you can spin up specialized agents. That's when you say, I want a sleep agent, one that just analyzes HRV, deep sleep, and data from Aura, Whoop, or 8 Sleep. Or I want a biomarker agent, one that only looks at blood work and long-term lab trends. Or maybe I want a protocol agent, one dedicated to interventions, supplements, and subjective notes. That trade-off can be useful if you want very different tones or workflows in each agent. But there's a trade-off. Once you split things up, your history gets fragmented across different places. So here's the bottom line. Start with one generic longevity agent. Let it grow with you. Once you're comfortable, if you want to branch off into specialized domains, you'll know exactly why you're doing it and how to use it. A side note on persistence. Persistence doesn't mean that the AI permanently stores all of your raw data in memory. Memory is good for preferences, like the length of results and the tone of it, but your actual data should live in a centralized location, where the agent pulls what it needs at runtime, applies it to your saved instructions, and give you that continuity. Step 4 is setting up your prompts for precision. Prompts are everything. AI will give vague answers if you ask vague questions. The more structure you give, the sharper your insights. Think of prompts as the steering wheel. They tell your agent where to go. But here's the key. There are actually 2 types of prompts in the system. We reviewed this briefly in the prior step, but the first layer is going to be the setup instructions. These are the instructions that you paste into your custom GPT or project instructions. They act like your agent's job description, defining its role, its lens, and its tone. You only do this once. In the generic longevity agent prompt used in the step before, you can hear that it was flexible as it was built to handle sleep logs, lab panels, or subjective notes all in one agent. An example of a prompt for a specialized agent, something like a specialized sleep agent, would be something like, "You are my sleep performance agent. Analyze my sleep data from wearables alongside daily logs like energy or mood. Focus on identifying trends in sleep stages, recovery, and HRV. Flag anomalies and suggest possible environmental or behavioral factors that could explain changes. Keep your tone analytical and avoid generic advice." You can hear that this version is narrower, zoomed in only on sleep optimization. Layer 2 is the precision prompts. These are the specific questions you type each time you interact with your agent. Think of them as giving your analyst a new assignment each week. They work within the framework of your saved instructions. For example, if you want a trend scan, you can ask something like, "Analyze last month's HRV, deep sleep, and energy scores." If you want a protocol comparison, you can ask something like, "Compare the 6 weeks I shifted workouts to mornings versus the 6 weeks before. Focus on recovery, sleep quality, and mood." Or if I want to do any risk checks, I can say, "Are any markers drifting in the wrong direction? What additional data would help confirm this?" Notice the structure: time frame, exclusions, and focus. That scaffolding transforms vague chatter into actionable clarity. Step 5 is avoiding common pitfalls. Now that your agent is up and running, let's talk about how to get the most out of it. Over time, I've learned a few principles that keep the feedback loop clean and useful. First, remember that context matters. If your recovery improves during a supplement trial, remember it might also be the month you took a vacation. AI can surface correlations, but you can still supply the human context. Second is to zoom out. Don't judge based on one rough night of sleep. Look at a 4 to 12 week window to see the real signals emerge. And third, keep it simple. 3 to 5 metrics tracked consistently will reveal far more than a dozen scattered ones. And these steps keep your AI from just spitting out charts to help it act like the thoughtful analyst you want it to be. And here's the payoff. AI doesn't replace the human side of longevity. Your feelings and impressions still matter. They're often the sparks that show you where to look. What AI does is anchor those sparks in evidence. When vibes and the data line up, you double down. When they don't, you pivot sooner and save months of wasted effort. Instead of drifting between protocols, you create a feedback loop where intuition and evidence reinforce each other. That's how AI transforms noise into clarity, and clarity into smarter, more sustainable decisions for the long game. Think of this like building your own mini research team. Elite athletes have entire staffs tracking their training, recovery, and biomarkers. You don't need that. You just need AI plus consistent data. These principles aren't abstract. They come alive when you start layering experiments into your loop. Let me give you 2 examples from my own system, one from labs, one from sleep, where AI helped me separate hype from progress. Here's the first example. Labs are the backbone of my personal system. Every quarter, I run panels that include lipids, inflammation markers, and omega-3 status. For a long time, I assumed my fish oil supplement was good enough. The label looked convincing, the dose seemed fine, and I figured I had it covered. But my labs disagreed. My EPA was only modestly elevated, and my DHA was hovering at the edge of borderline optimal. That was a wake-up call. I wasn't failing, but I wasn't moving into the ranges that actually matter for long-term cardiovascular and neurological protection. So I treated it like a proper experiment. I upgraded to a higher quality omega-3 supplement with better purity and stronger EPA to DHA profile, and I nudged the dose upward. Then I waited 3 months and ran the labs again. This time, the difference was obvious. My EPA jumped into the optimal range, my DHA shifted from borderline to solidly healthy, and my ApoB and inflammation markers stayed steady, meaning no hidden trade-offs. And here's where AI added depth. I dropped those results into my system, and my agent overlaid them with wearable data. During the same period, my HRV showed a gentle but steady upward trend. Could omega-3s explain the entire improvement? Not likely. Biology is never that simple, but the alignment was too consistent to ignore. And the real win was confidence. Instead of hoping my supplement was probably working, I had numbers showing me that it was. And instead of wasting money on guesswork, I refined a tool I was already using and made it better. That's the power of layering labs, wearables, and subjective notes with AI. The subtle signals stop looking like noise, and decisions stop feeling like shots in the dark. Now, a shorter but equally memorable example, when I started using an 8 sleep. Everyone said it was a game changer, but what they didn't say is that the first time you crawl into a chilly bed, your body's like, "Excuse me, what is this?" I almost bailed that first week, but I persisted and I tracked my adaptation with AI. Sleep efficiency, time to fall asleep, deep and REM percentages. My log notes were hilarious. Felt like sleeping in a fridge. Maybe I need socks. Still not cozy. Then the data shifted. Over time, I started falling asleep faster, my sleep efficiency climbed a few points, and deep sleep nudged upward. The kicker was my morning energy ratings, higher when I stuck with a cooler setup. The biggest result of running these experiments with AI isn't that it told me what to do. It's just that it helped me recognize and protect small but meaningful wins. As you heard, the results on their own aren't dramatic, but longevity isn't built on drama. It's built on small, compounding shifts. And with AI stitching them together, I get to see them clearly and stick with what's working. Now, let's wrap up the episode. In part 1, AI was our research partner, scanning studies, spotting weak evidence, and helping us separate hype from signal. Today, we made it personal. How to build a system that doesn't just chat with you once, but grows with you, remembers your history, and gives you clarity in your own numbers. If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. AI doesn't replace your judgment. It sharpens it. Longevity isn't about magic bullets. It's about stacking small, consistent wins over time. Start with one metric. Log it consistently. Run it through AI once a week. Over time, you'll move from wondering if something works to knowing. Because the promise of AI in longevity isn't speed, it's clarity. And clarity is what helps us add years to our lives and life to our years. Thank you for spending your time with me today on Adding Years, your roadmap to longevity. If you found this episode helpful, please follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and consider leaving a review. Before we wrap up, a quick but important reminder. Adding Years is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment. Always consult your physician or qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health regimen, supplements, or exercise routine. What you hear on this show reflects personal opinions, experiences, and not medical advice. I'm Josie, and this is Adding Years. Until next time, here's to living better, longer.